Doctor and Call comes to you compliments Antillian Life Insurance, Hills and Valley Pharmacy, and the Spice Isle Imaging Center. Good evening once again and welcome to Doctor on Call. We have a live program for you this evening. Last week we were off, of course, public holiday. And, we had some reflection to do. And so we're back this week. Dr. Nixon's with me, and of course it's always a pleasure to have her. Doc, good evening and welcome again.
Well, good evening, Grenada. It's good to be here.
Yes.
It's good to have her tonight because, tonight is All Saints and Catholics and Anglicans go to the cemetery, remember their dead, do prayers, put candles, and of course we give people sand for ashing.
I actually forgot that.
There is November 1st.
I forgot, yes.
Yeah, Peace of All Souls.
Yes, indeed. So, Doc, tonight, the 1st of November, it marks the start of Diabetes Awareness.
What is that, right?
Yes, the entire month. And we will be having a series of programs on diabetes. Of course, it is one of the conditions that we cannot, and I must stress, cannot stop speaking about. Yes, and if you ask me, I think it's even more important as time goes on to continue to labor that topic because it is of concern. Doc always says that there was a time when you heard of diabetes, you started thinking about the elderly folks. That is no more. Yeah, we are seeing teenagers, young children who are diabetic, and that's not a good thing. So, tonight we are going to start the discussion on diabetes, diabetes awareness and everything that comes with it. So, Doc, diabetes awareness, very important. I know it's an area that you like to speak about, and I know it is because of the serious nature of the condition. I'm sure you see people probably every day that visit you, and somewhere along the line the whole topic of diabetes comes up.
Well, even when people don't visit you, it's just something that's always in your mind because it's just so prevalent. Meaning it happens so often, it's just there in our communities, in our society, and in Grenadian society. There are a lot of reasons we can say why. As we continue to talk, things will come. Why is it that we have so much diabetes? More than anything, we need to consider the fact that we can actually prevent diabetes, one. Two, that if we do develop diabetes, that we can treat it. It's available. So we kind of need to accept the fact that diabetes is a problem for us, whoever we are. It has no respect of persons. These days, boy and girl get included because, like you said, it tends to happen earlier. And of course, there is type 1 diabetes, which is the situation in which young children, people are born with very poorly functioning pancreas, that organ that provides that vital chemical called insulin that helps us to work up our carbohydrate and sugar intake. So we have young people, but then we see a lot of people. I listen to the obituaries, some of the obituaries tonight. I don't habitually do it unless I'm waiting for you. But and I hear a lot of young people, and I'm not saying, with all due respect to the people who have lost their loved ones, due respect and condolences. I hear a lot of younger people dying, and it makes me think, what is the cause of it?
What's the cause? Yes, yeah.
This is a chronic illness that we could have controlled, right? And so the fact that we see in a lot of young people and a lot of younger people affected within 20 years of having diabetes, you will develop complications. you can control that occurring, and that's a problem. You don't want to die from the complications. It's too prolonged, and it's too, losing your limbs and losing your vision and getting into kidney failure and all the rest. Those are things we can all prevent.
Prevent, yes. Mm-hmm.
The challenge with us is that we kind of don't eat like our grandmother used to eat. You don't want nobody to know you're eating fig. You're having pasta, whatever that is, right? Or you're having something else. But we don't eat what we grow anymore. If we eat it, some of us just eat too much. Our portions are way too large. So our poor little pancreas can't produce enough insulin. And insulin is necessary to hold the hand of the sugar that your food breaks down to and take it into your body cells where it is necessary for energy, right? Keep your whole body functioning. If you don't have enough insulin or you have very poor, or you don't have any insulin, like in the case of type 1 or juvenile diabetes, or you don't have enough of poor quality as in type 2 diabetes, you'll have the challenge, right? You'll have this sugar that runs around, and it's a crazy substance to have in your body in high concentrations. Okay, it is always there. It's going to go and damage your eyes. It's going to damage your kidneys. It's going to damage your heart. It's going to damage your little blood vessels. Your big blood vessels get affected as well, but the tiny vessels, the tiny circulation, nothing goes to the back of your eye and to your toes and to the little functioning parts of your kidneys and the small circulation in your heart, right? Your brain. Is going to cause you to have all of those things. And of course, you know that probably the number one cause of diabetes, or if not one, probably two cause of blindness in Grenada is diabetes or severe visual impairment. So it's something we can control. And I think we need to start to think, those of us who don't have diabetes yet, how am I going to prevent it? What if my mother and father, or my mother or father, the bottom line, if somebody in your family, like your mother or father, that first line of family, has diabetes, you have a chance, right? If both your parents have, the risk are increased. In other words, the more people around you have diabetes, the greater the risk, especially your parents, right? Both your parents have diabetes, you have a 75% chance of getting diabetes. But the thing is, if you buy a lotto ticket that have 30 number, 40 number, you run a better chance. You don't necessarily have to win. So you have to decide whether you're gonna work with what your parents have, know what it is, and avoid, making the mistakes that lead you to have diabetes. And or you're gonna take your chances and hope that you don't get it. But remember, this is something you have control over. So let's work with the control that we have.
Right. This is so very significant. But Doc, let me ask you, why something so wonderful that tastes so good it makes you feel, oh my, can be so dangerous. I mean, that taste of sugar, that's sweet. When you say things on TV that is not legal. When you bite into a moist piece of chocolate cake with added chocolate frosting and something in the middle and a little cherry at the top, I mean, it doesn't come better than that. But why is that so dangerous?
It comes better than that if you don't like chocolate, but
let's talk about it. Let's get people to understand.
So, I will not tell people, if you like double chocolate cake where they have twice as much cocoa in the cake mix with chocolate pudding filling in the middle and chocolate ganache, that nice moist thing. If you like it, I'm not telling you not to eat a little piece. I'm just saying don't eat the whole cake, which is what our problem is, right? And I'm saying if you indulge, consider that you have to give up something else, right? But not us. When you go to oil on fat, right? I'm going to ask you, when you go to oil on fat, or you cook a pot of oil on by the road, okay? How much oil on you eat? Tell me what your portion is.
Who, me?
Yeah, you. Say more.
No. I.
Joe, what Joe put in his plate? You know, not embarrassing.
Oh, no, definitely. Joe, I'll tell you about Joseph, and I'm not afraid, and he's probably listening, and I'm going to say it. So Joe is going to have maybe about 3 slices of breadfruit.
Big slice of
big slice, big slices. So Joe is going to probably have maybe about 6 dumplings. And let's go to the meat. Now, that's where Joe is going to have a ball of a time. He's going to have his salt meat. He's going to have his chicken. He's going to have whatever there, and he's going to have a time. Yeah.
Okay. And then he say, "Give me a teaspoon of the callaloo," right?
Yeah.
Right. So the truth is, our portions are way too large. We know that. And I'm not asking people not to eat the things they like, right? As a matter of fact, if you eat the things you like it to be more satisfied. What we have to get accustomed to is to eat small portions. You go to there's oil on. What do you have in the pot? Give me a little piece of breadfruit, okay? Maybe a grain of fig or a dumpling, and give me some of the vegetable and a piece of meat. That's a meal,
right?
Okay. Might go and play some cricket and run up and down. And probably have something else because you burn that out there. But the truth is, all of us sit down, and plus you don't talk about how much glass of rum you drink. How much beer you chase?
Yes.
And then if they cook bread pudding and all them things, the sweet thing on the side, he nibbling sugar cake and stuff while he playing dominoes and all fours and stuff. Those are the things we do unwittingly. So you almost have to, when you're going to go out and eat, you have to figure out, what am I going to eat? But it's a learning thing because you have to unlearn the freedom. We would say, but I used to see my grandfather doing that, right? I'm sure you used to see grandfather, when you come home and your grandmother cook the pot of food, right? The pea soup with the dumpling and the fig and the blogger and the plantain and the yam and stuff. But your grandfather get back up and go and walk. Go and cut another task out there, right? Go and cut grass for your donkey, right? Or go look for fruit and all stuff and to throw in a pig pen for the animals. The truth is that people worked, plus he walked.
Yeah.
We talk about the walk, and I'm not even talking about our kids. We don't walk. There's always traffic jam in town. We do not walk. People are always jumping into their vehicles. Yes, and I'm not saying don't own a vehicle, but I must say, St. George's is a perfect place to still walk. It's actually safe from a robbery standpoint. Probably the safest place in the Caribbean to walk on the street. But we do not walk. How much of us walk over to each other's desk? Right? But to the people who in the big studio now will walk to your studio to say, all right, I'm going to turn on the light a little. He call you on the phone or send you a text message. We don't walk around the office. We don't walk up the stairs. We are not physically active, right? And all of those things are necessary to help us to stay
burn some of the
burn the calories that we consume. Right? What happens? Your poor pancreas now to try and carry all of that sugar, because almost everything we eat, especially sugar and starches, are going to break down into glucose. Glucose is a currency for energy, so we need it. Okay, we need to wink, we need it for me to talk, you need for me to gesticulate, you need for it to stay, keep your eyes open, for your brain to keep functioning, for your muscles to be, keep you sitting up, that kind of stuff. But how many of us just consume too much? How much of us consume only what we need? Just the people who are aware, right? The other thing is that apart from consuming those big portions, right? We don't consume the things that don't give us a lot of glucose, a lot of calories. Okay? We don't eat a lot of vegetables. We don't drink a lot of water, right? So we can spend 2 weeks talking on nutrition alone. That will help us, because yes, we produce food, probably not all that we like or we have come to like to eat. But the thing is, whatever we eat too much. There's a thing called glycemic index. And the glycemic index is the rate at which your sugar would rise after you consume any food.
Okay.
Right? So if you eat a nice little slice of breadfruit, right? Your sugar will rise up to a certain point, right? At a certain rate or fast, okay? If you eat the same weight in cookies, your sugar will rise 5 times, 10 times as high, okay? If you drink alcohol and or beer or drinks, we like to sweeten our drinks like Slain. It must be syrupy almost. Bad habit for us, but it's part of Guinean culture that we have to eliminate, right? If you drink that which contains the same amount of calories as that piece of breadfruit that you eat, your sugar is going to rise faster, right? Much faster. So you say you're thirsty, right? You buy one of those colored sugar sweetened beverage. You drink that, right? And you feel good enough because your sugar goes up and it feels funky. But half an hour later, you're hungry because here comes insulin saying, woo, we got some sugar on board. Let me deal with it. It comes, it waxes it up, it puts it into, it takes what it needs for immediate energy use, and then it puts the rest into storage. So you get fat on your belly. Let's not mention if you're drinking beer. Fat on your belly, fat on your thighs, fat on your back, fat on your arm, fat on your liver. And then, poof, it drops suddenly, right? Once it's finished, does its work and done. If you do a breadfruit, for example, you had a piece of breadfruit with the same amount of calories as we were talking before. The breadfruit has a lot of fiber. It takes a long time to break down. Mm-hmm. So yes, it breaks down, you get your glucose, but you get your glucose slower, right? So you don't get as hungry. Your glycemic index is not as high, in other words, sugar doesn't rise as fast, right? But you get that feeling of satisfaction, right? So you don't need to eat 3 slices of breadfruit to feel at your belly full. If you took your time and ate just that 1 slice of breadfruit, yes, you can have a dumpling. You're not going to eat oil long every day, but have a dumpling and go play a game of cricket. If you're going to have a dumpling and the thing, but you sit and you take your time, you probably won't even be able to eat it. But we eat unconsciously. We just eat whatever in the plate.
Doc, let me just butt in. Last evening, I was looking at a program, I think it was on BBC Earth, and 2 gentlemen that were talking, and one of them made a statement that got my attention. He said, apparently, well, I sort of caught the program in the middle, so I wasn't sure what the whole thing was about, but I heard one of them saying, people do not dine anymore. They just eat and go.
You're always on the run. So you go to a fancy restaurant, you know what they give us, right? You have to take a microscope to look and see it on the plate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But if you a meal and you're sitting with friends, you dare not ask for much. You just look at me and I'm like, God, my belly full. Right? Because it's tailored to give you a feeling of satisfaction. But when you eat unconsciously, put that image in your mind, everybody, of a child eating a bag of potato chips. Or, you buy chicken and chips in town. And he just eats. He's distracted. And he just eats. He'd probably be as satisfied having 6 chips. 6 other fries, sorry. Okay? Well, fries. I just call it right here. Or you buy a bag of chips. If you buy a pack of, those plantain chips?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's one very popular. Right? So I was looking at the bag this morning. It has 140 calories, right? A lot of it is fat from the frying, right? But that is a serving and a half. So in truth and in fact, instead of the probably dozen chips that were in the bag, right? Only about 8 should have been consumed for you to have had something balanced as a snack. Mm-hmm. So not only quantity, but what you eat is going to determine how high your sugar goes. Mm-hmm. Right? And that is the same for everybody. But in the case of people who already have diabetes, they have pancreas, this organ under your liver, right? Down under your liver, which produces insulin. When you eat a meal that contains starch, your brain's brighten. It doesn't matter whether you're unintelligent, whether you in coma or not. It doesn't really matter. Your brain functions automatically when it comes to certain functions, right? So when you have a meal, let's say that meal is that plate of oil long that you and Joe eat, right? Your body says, ooh, breadfruit. Breadfruit is starch and fiber. Mm-hmm. Or let's say you have a soda, which is just pure sugar, okay? Ooh, there's sugar on board. I need to produce some insulin. I need some insulin here. So it sends a message to the pancreas. The pancreas releases the insulin from what we call the beta cells. Those are the cells that that manufacture insulin. The insulin comes, it gets into your bloodstream because when you eat, it goes into your stomach and it passes passively into your bloodstream. Your bloodstream now is a train, right? The supply chain.
Yep.
Right? It's going to do whatever it's need, whether it's your belly, your uterus, your back, your eye, whichever organ it is. Your blood vessels spreading up, right? But that sugar has to move from your blood vessels into the organs that need it, into whichever part your body needs, right? Insulin, unless insulin is there to hold the hand, insulin is the passport. So unless you have insulin on board, that sugar goes nowhere, it stays in your bloodstream, right? The excess insulin is, the excess of the sugar. Will get stored. So when you eat something, your body uses what it needs now. Any excess there is, it stores it. Within 2 hours, your sugar should go back to normal. Okay? You eat a meal, insulin is produced. Within 2 hours, your sugar should go back to normal. Within that normal range. And there's a range. It's not a number. Right? It's a range. So you go to your doctor, say, oh, your sugar this morning is 94. And then your sugar yesterday morning is 104. Is that okay, doc? Yes, it is, because it's a range. Okay, that's it. And different labs might give you different things, but it's we like 70 to like 110, especially since we have so much challenge. I'll say 80 because people don't like to feel a bit tired. And some people would feel tired when it goes up to 70. But you want to have enough insulin on board. If you know how it is. When you overuse something, you kind of get weak, huh? Right? So if we giving our children all the pasta, which is basically flour, which is processed wheat, which breaks down into nothing, or white bread, which is processed wheat, which breaks down to pure sugar very quickly, or potato chips. White potatoes have one of the highest glycemic indices, right? So the things we like to eat nowadays, right? They break down fast, sugar fly up in the head, right? If your pancreas is not producing sufficient insulin, all that sugar stays in your bloodstream, and it keeps going around. You have nowhere to go, except that some of it might spill out in your kidneys, because the kidneys is your sieve, is your treatment plant. Okay, everything goes through there, takes out all impurities, and then eventually you'll find that sugar starts spilling in your urine. That's after a little while. Okay, but if you keep that poor pancreas just being underworked, eating all of those carbohydrates, you don't eat vegetables, you don't drink a lot of water, you understand, we don't take things that don't have a lot of sugar, eventually those beta cells get tired. Right? The beta cells of the pancreas, they get tired, and there's not a whole lot of insulin or good quality insulin. All right? And then you start to have all the symptoms of diabetes. Right? Then you start to have all the symptoms of diabetes. And what are these symptoms? What do you know? What people tell you happen to them when they have diabetes? What do they say?
Well, they start to urinate irregular, they start feeling thirsty, they start feeling hungry, they starting to itch, and all kind of little things that happen to them.
And weight loss, right?
Yes, weight loss.
So do you understand how that happens? Let me tell you how that happens. So you don't have enough insulin, right? So when you eat food and it gets to where it wants, you don't feel hungry anymore, right? Lunchtime come, boy, you're hungry, you go and you buy something to eat, and you're fine, you come back and you can work. But you eat, and because that glucose that your body needs to do its work doesn't reach, your brain saying, hey, you haven't given your organs, go get some more food. So you keep on feeling that hunger. So you have that extra hunger. Because here's all the sugar. Yes, you've consumed enough and too much, but it's not getting to where it wants, because there's no insulin, no passport, it can't go through. Insulin holds your hand and takes it through to the organ, to whoever needs it, right? Or a little bit might get it, but insufficient, right? So you still feel tired, and you eat, right? And your sugar gets higher. So you eat. But remember, I tell you go to your kidney, everything goes to the kidney to filter, right? Because there's so much sugar, eventually the sugar starts seeping out through the kidneys, right? And it comes out in the urine. But we've talked about this. You make a cup of tea this morning, you at your house, right? You use some sugar, right? And you're hurrying because it's 5 to 8 and you have to reach your work down in Ghana for 8 o'clock. So you fling the sugar in the tea and you fly out through the door because you have it in your sippy cup, right? And some sugar fall on the table. What happened to the sugar?
Oh, starts to takes moisture and it gets sticky, and yes.
Where does it come from? Not inside the sugar, right? Sugar likes water, so it absorbs water. In this case, what has fallen on the table absorbs the moisture from the atmosphere. That's always there, especially in our humid environments. When you come, you basically have syrup on your counter, right? In the case of our bodies, it pulls water from the bloodstream. And that is why your pee often. Because you have all that sugar, and at the time you spill sugar, some urine comes with it. Water comes, you want to pass water, but it's because you're passing, the sugar comes out and it pulls the water with it, all right? If you're passing a lot of water, you're going to get thirsty, aren't you?
You will.
So here's the triad: excessive hunger, frequency of urination, and thirst. The other thing, the excessive sugar on the skin, itches, the visual problems that you might get, not be able to see properly, is because everything, all the solutions, all the fluids in your body have all the sugar that kind of obstructs your vision, so you can't see properly. They can't concentrate it. So those are the main things. The weight loss is because you're eating, but you're not getting any nutrients into your body. It's in your bloodstream, yes, and it stays there, but you're not getting anything into your body. So your body starts breaking down whatever stores you have. That process called gluconeogenesis. Because remember what you store, right? This was glycogen and fat and stuff. The body starts breaking down the glycogen in particular. Right, and then eventually your muscles start losing all the fat. Right, so that's what happens.
Just before we go to the break, one quick question on this: your frequent urination. Let's just break this down. How can someone tell that they're urinating, too much? Then, so to speak. What is the average? What's the average amount of time someone should urinate, let's say, within a 24-hour period?
Depends on how much you drink. If you're a normal, healthy person,
right.
So if you're drinking a lot of water, you are likely to go to the bathroom more often. But let's say you're drinking your usual, and if I drink 2 glasses of water, I'll probably go to the bathroom in an hour and go once. All right, I might go twice, but because I had an extra glass of water. You should know, based on what your habit is, that, boy, I've kind of been going in the bathroom frequently.
That's normal.
So, you should know. Okay?
And you didn't drink anything extra? You didn't drink extra water? You didn't?
Right.
Okay, wonderful.
I want to say something, because, a lot of us drink beer and stuff, and things just water. A beer has 180 calories. That's 1/10 of the calories for a person who works hard enough, right? Plus, it's only sugars, and you hear the campaigns of against sugar-sweetened beverages, giving our children sugar-sweetened beverages. All it has is sugar. It's empty calories. It's just calories. There's no micronutrients, no vitamins, and all other things that we require for to build our bodies up. So we really just giving ourselves cardboard with a good taste.
Wonderful. So, Doc, let's take our first break. When we come back, I want to talk to you a bit more on our consumption, how and what we consume, in relation to the glycemic index and all of that, because there's some questions there I want us to delve a little deeper into. So stay with us, folks. We'll be back with you in just a moment. Don't go away.
Here is a little known fact. There is only one place in Grenada that you can get an MRI scan done. That place is Spicile Imaging Center. Yes, Grenada, that's the truth. Other centers could offer you other scans, but Spicile Imaging provides an authentic MRI scan. Here's another little known fact. Spicile Imaging has 3 centers. We operate at Grenville, the Carnage, and at the Ocean House, Grand Anse. We provide the widest range of laboratory tests and services: CT scans, x-rays, mammograms, ultrasounds, and a host of other services. We are fully staffed by a team of family doctors and specialists. Call us today at 444-7679 or 406-1500, or visit any of our 3 locations. Spice Cell Imaging, from seeing the doctor to getting lab tests, scans, and pharmacy services. We are here to take care of you.
Gittins Healthcare Pharmacies have catered for all the early shoppers. So, start your Christmas shopping now and avoid the rush. Visit Gittins Healthcare Pharmacies for your gift sets, toys for the children, hair care and body care products, along with your prescription and over-the-counter medication. Shop early and avoid the Christmas rush at Gittins Healthcare Pharmacies at Central Depredin Street, Guab, the corner of Victoria and Jubilee Street, Grenville, and Wall Street, Grand Anse.
The Blood Tour with Marvia Providence. Marvia Providence with a live band bringing you some of her newest and greatest hits.
If your hands are anointed, I feel like a running, skipping. I am a warrior. Bullet with the Holy Ghost blood.
Join the world-renowned recording artist Marvia Providence live in Grenada on Saturday, November 19th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Venue, Gateway Conference Center on Maurice Bishop Highway, Grenada. Get your tickets at these locations now or visit www.grenadagospel.com. This chain-breaking praise tour is coming with a difference. Call 533-0099 for vending and sponsorship opportunities available.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's a service guarantee. We look after all our family, yes we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
If there was ever a time to keep and stay healthy, it's now! We at Hills and Valley are here to help you take deliberate steps to maintain your health. We stayed true to maintaining the most comprehensive rates while stocking the widest range of medicines and health devices, including personal protective equipment. There are so many benefits shopping with us. You get great savings through discounts for senior citizens and reward cards for loyal customers. Ask about owning yours today. Visit us at Halifax and Grenville Street, St. George, Jubilee Street opposite the Grenville Bus Terminal, and at Hillsborough, Carriacou. Our wholesale distribution on Halifax Street also stocks the widest range of pharmaceuticals. We are with you on the hills and in the valleys. We are Hills and Valley Pharmacy.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Dr. and Call, and this evening we've started our series of programs on diabetes. November, Diabetes Awareness Month, and we think it is of great importance to continue to labor that topic, that discussion on diabetes. Very, very important, and we should be paying very close attention to the information that is being disseminated here. All right, as Doc said earlier, a lot of these things can be controlled and in a lot of cases can be prevented. All right, and sometimes through carelessness we only get to realize how serious it is when we are actually there, and it's probably a little too late. So now is the time. If you didn't do it before, let's start tonight. Yeah, let us make every effort to prevent and to control what we eat so that we do not end up in a situation where a couple of years from now we start reflecting, boy, you know, when Doc and Godfrey was having this program, you know, I didn't take it seriously. And if you don't, you will get to that point. All right, so please, let's take it seriously. It is very important. All right, a healthy nation is a wealthy nation. Doc, I want to go back a little bit to
I just want to endorse what you just said, because you know, oftentimes people think that giving information to frighten. This information is just meant to empower.
Yes.
Take control of our lives and take control of ourselves. We can make a decision. I can decide how much slice of breadfruit, how much plate of rice, how much soda, how much beer, how much alcohol I drink. Okay? I must be able to make that decision if it's available to me, once the food is available to me. Right? You know, unfortunately, you know, we've gotten a little less poor over the last 2 decades, but we've gotten less healthy because we've made bad food choices. Right? And a lot of parents think, and this is a very sad state, because parents think, I have to give my child X or Y or Z snack to go to school, because when I was growing up, my mother was poor, and his mango should be to me back for us to eat for break time. So I can tell you, if you want to step it up a little, peel the mango and put it in a nice container with a fork, and put it in a Ziploc bag. That's different from when the mango, when mother put it in a bag and it busts and it does your exercise. It is healthy for a child to have a few slices of mango for their break. Because guess what? They go run out and play that, and they come back in the classroom and they're healthy and they're straight. And you know that your child has had something decent to eat in their break time. A lot of us give our children money for their snacks. Buy something at school. What you try to buy? The thing that you like, sweet tea. Chocolate ganache with chocolate filling in the middle and double chocolate cake.
And wash it down with a lollipop.
And then you point when you're going home.
Yes.
Right? So we have to be very cautious, and we have to teach our children how to consume from home, because children who don't eat sweets at home don't eat sweets outside.
That's true.
It's for them. So we're gonna have to build up. We have to build a whole new kind of consciousness, a whole new culture as to how we eat as families. Even if it's just you and your child, you're the family. What happens in that house? And cooking 5 different pots because this one the one that. Oh, come on, guys. Let's not talk about that. You're going to ask a question.
Yes. So I want to go back to the glycemic index and the rise of the blood sugar.
The rate of elevation.
Right. How can, in terms of maybe your meal, and as an aside, maybe we should sometime during the course of the month probably invite Mrs. Brown or someone from the Food and Nutrient Council to come on and share with us a bit about portions, and how to portion our meal. But you mentioned earlier that if we had a slice of breadfruit, let's say with X amount of calories, as compared to, let's say, a soda with the same amount, we will have an increase in the rise, or the sugar in the soda will increase much faster than that of the breadfruit. I want us to go back on that a little bit and speak about it, and maybe, for example, vegetables, like let's say 2 slices of tomatoes, or some cucumbers, or 2 leaves of lettuce. And how all of that relates to the rise in sugar in the blood sugar.
So again, almost everything you eat will eventually become glucose.
Right.
Different foods have different amounts of glucose related to a unit. Okay? Almost everything you eat will ultimately break down to glucose. And a lot of the food, also the energy-given foods, all energy-given foods are carbohydrates, sugars, and starches, right? So that's what we're looking at, how that is metabolized, how your body uses that. Not the protein, which eventually might break back up the fat for storage and all the rest of it. But the carbohydrates that we consume, sugars and starches, that is our big problem when it comes to to diabetes. Remember, however, that those will also give us some energy. So if you're going to have a bowl, you're going to have a big bowl of beef or whatever, chicken, that gives you energy. Takes a longer time, protein takes a longer time, even fat takes a longer time. Although fat weighs twice the calories of carbohydrates per unit, right? The carbohydrates is what we really concern, the sugars and the starches that we consume. So tomato doesn't have as much carbohydrates. Carrots do, so you probably eat less carrots than you eat tomatoes, right? Lettuce, what is there is probably negative. Cabbage, like the cruciferous vegetables, the green crunchy ones, right? That's good. Lettuce, cabbage, kale, all of those things have almost no calories, but they fill you up, right? Yes, you do need your calories for burning. You can also get some from fat and from protein, all right? It's a carbohydrate that's a problem when it comes to diabetes, okay? Yes, you need to have a certain amount of calories, but not all gludged down at one time. So you need 500 calories to take you from breakfast to lunch. You have something that digests slowly, right? And gives you the calories as you go along. Keeps it nice and undulating, but it doesn't do this, which is what happens when you take those high glycemic index food. It rises up. If you have enough insulin, it drops. If you don't have enough, it stays high.
It stays high.
Right? If you don't have enough, I have a mosquito flying in front of me. That mosquito could never have diabetes because it hasn't stopped flying. You've been exercising all night.
All right.
But, if you eat those foods that raise your glycemic index to so high and so soon, it stays high if you don't have enough insulin to take care of it. That is where the problem comes. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. So I was also trying to get that message out there that and you said it, the lettuce and the cabbage and the kale and things like right, and so it significantly lowers the rate of sugar in your blood. So, for example, if you're eating, let's say, if you have, let's say, some rice and some heavy carbohydrates, it might be a very good thing to have some crunchy veggies with that.
But Inez is wrong for this, because she knows to tell you to make your plate look. Your vegetables should be half of your plate,
right?
Not a quarter, half, right? And then rice, which is a high glycemic index as well, which will send up your blood sugar. Rice, white potatoes, and we like that, right? And then, like I said again, our portions. It's not only the fact that these foods have high glycemic indices, the fact that these foods, we consume a lot of it, okay? You buy a roti, you get 1.5 potato, 2 ounces of, half an ounce of chicken or beef, and a whole lot of flour from the dough of the roti. Right? So we constantly bombarded by foods that have a high glycemic index and keep our sugar, make our sugar get very high.
And you still have some peas in there.
You should have some peas in there.
No, I said you still have some peas in the dough, and I mean, although you get some protein, but there's also some carbohydrates there.
Probably peas. It's 10 people at a time for that thing too expensive.
Roti have
not all roti have dal. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So it is.
No, go ahead.
Right. So it's important to have your vegetables. Very, very, very important, folks, to do that. And we do have.
My favorite instrument.
Yes.
Everybody has one of this. Go on to Google and Google glycemic index. GLYCEMIC index, INDEX. It will explain to you in very simple terms. And look at the foods with high glycemic index. It will tell you what you should avoid or what you shouldn't avoid, right? So you know what you to consume or what you're not to consume. And why is it that I don't want your sugar to stay high? Why do you think I don't want your sugar to stay high? What does that high sugar do to us?
Right, and I think this is where we're going now, because this is where we start having the complications. So earlier,
we're having problems generally, and the longer your sugar stays high, the more damage it does. Sugar is toxic, okay?
Right.
Sugar is toxic, all right?
So we spoke earlier about some of the symptoms, the increased hunger, the increased thirst, the weight loss, frequent urination, all of these things. One quick question. Is there any difference in the symptoms in men and women? Or are they generally the same?
Well, men will have challenges with their erection. Okay? If it starts disappearing, everybody, it's just normal for men to have an erection when they wake up in the morning. Remember, when I explain to you how the sugar works, you'll understand why I don't have an erection.
Right.
Because to have an erection, you must have blood flow into the shaft of the penis. If the blood isn't flowing properly, there's no erection.
Right.
Or it can't go. Okay? So hear me. You eat, your sugar remains high because you don't have enough working insulin. Alright? Your sugar remains high. The sugar remains high and sugar remains high and sugar remains high. That surplus of sugar that you have in your blood, circulating in your bloodstream, just running up and down like some people who ride the train and they just stay and ride the train because they can just ride the train. That's how that sugar does. You just hang on because there's a seat on a train and I'm holding on to the seat. I don't care who comes on. Hear what happens. That sugar, that surplus of sugar, literally coats the red blood cells. Now, your red blood cells are very essential for carrying oxygen.
Yes.
The most essential substance to grow in your body, right? You need oxygen. If you have asthma, you can't get oxygen, you get shortness of breath, you pass out. If your nose stop up, you start bald because you can't breathe properly. If you're running and you don't have enough oxygen when your foot, your calves start hurt you, right? If you get hit in a part of your body and they damage some tissue, it hurts. There's not enough oxygen going to make it good. You're lifting muscle, you're lifting weights. Oh, the poor muscles don't have enough oxygen going there because they're not properly trained. You get pain. Okay? You don't get enough oxygen to your brain, you pass out. Then like when you stand up in the park when the queen come and you flag and you faint because it's hot and oxygen not going up there, you pass out, right? Now, think, and everybody has seen this. Everybody has done this. And everybody has done that sometime in one way or other. You've seen the picture of the men making pizza on TV. We all have seen that, most of us. And for those who haven't seen it, you know the difference between when you have a white linen shirt and it's wet and you can flap it, and when you have the white linen shirt and you put starch that the lady up in the country make, that hard starch, and it gets hard and it's no longer, it can't flap anymore.
That's right.
It's stiff. So those red blood cells get stiff. And like I tell everybody, if you cut the tips of your finger or the tips of your toe, you don't see arteries and arteries anymore. What you see is just spaces. So it's just like when you go on the beach and the sea come up, and then the sea goes right down, the water disappears. But there are no real canals, they're just spaces, right? That's how it happens in the most distant part of your body. Where the blood vessels get so tiny, they just really spaces between between the cells of the organ. In those distant parts, you need to have blood cells, red blood cells that can really move, that are pliable, right?
Flexible, yes.
So that man is making. If you put sugar on it, it gets stiff, it gets hard, it can't go further. So what you have is those pathways now blocked. And you have a shortage of oxygen. And then you have circulatory problems. So if you don't have proper circulation going into the penis, you're not going to get your morning erection. Or if you have an erection, if you're stimulated otherwise, you're going to have intercourse, it's not good, your boy's going to fail you. Okay? Because he just can't manage. There's not enough circulation, there's not enough oxygen and all the things that are required. Your feet are going to go bad because the nerve endings on, they're going to die out because they're not getting enough oxygen and other nutrients that the red blood cells bring. It's not happening. Okay? Your kidneys the blood, same thing happens. The little nephrons, the little units that function in the kidneys, they start dying. The small vessels in your brain, they start going. Circulation gets compromised everywhere. So at the back of your eyes, you can see the blood vessels get small. There's a lot of fluid around because, yes, the circulation can't go any further, and you go blind because the back of your eyes get
clogged up with syrup and everything.
Circulation, right? And those are the things we want to prevent. That is what we have to prevent, that you don't have circulation to places that are far away from the center or just places that require that the microvasculature can function normal, that the microvasculature is open enough, right? That is, well, it's open, but just that the cells are able to penetrate, that can wind their way into, right? Because they know they're supposed to, they just can't because they have this burden of the sugar that coats it. So you remember me telling you, after 2 hours, your sugar should go back to normal, right? You have a meal within 2 minutes, if everything is working, right? And so we ask our patient, if you don't eat from 6 o'clock in the evening to 6 o'clock in the morning, I think your sugar should go back to normal. For some people, it doesn't, right? But if we want to know how we're doing with our meals and to be able to adjust our meals, we need to check our sugar 2 hours after. So that 2 hour post-prandial, meaning post-meal, is very important. Not when you're outside hanging out clothes on the water and you're washing clothes on a dripping board and all of that. I'm talking about you have a meal and you're watching the news for the night. When you finish, 2 hours after you started your meal, you go and you check your sugar. It should have gone back to normal if your medication and your diet are in good balance. If you've exercised, you understand? So that 2 hour sugar is very important because what's it going to tell you? Let's say this evening you had, what do you have for supper? Trying to do. You go home and you have your wife cook macaroni pie. Let's just, which I don't think people should cook, but that's all right, right? And I'm going to go back to oil though, or fig and salty sauce. I'm eating Grenadian food, okay? Mm-hmm. You go home and your wife cook fig and salty sauce. And you know when you boil the saltfish in the pot with the fig, how nice the fig does look, right? Almost irresistible because if it's a nice, youngish kind of fig and it's got 4 grains of fig, right? Because I say, boy, you know, sweetheart, I don't eat no food today, so I'm hungry. But the food you don't eat it already. It don't really matter. Forget that. You're eating to satisfy your needs for the next few hours, right? So you eat 4 grains of fig, and she happened to make cornmeal dumpling that you like, which might take a little time to digest. But she cooked white flour dumpling. Let's say she cooked white flour dumpling because she forgot to buy the corn, right? And you eat 2 dumplings. That's far too much. We already established that, right? But then you finish it. You take your shower, you put on comfortable clothes, you take your plate and your tray and sit down in front of the TV and you watch TV and doing nothing after that and you eat all that food. You need to check your sugar 2 hours later in that calm environment. So if you eat all of that tonight and you get up and when you check your sugar 2 hours later, your sugar is way above what you want it to be, what it should be, because it's not within normal limits. You have to say, oh, I eat too much sugar and salty sauce. Not so much salty sauce as the feed. Okay? So tomorrow, next time she cook, you're taking some for lunch tomorrow because it's still, they have a little extra. You probably take 2 grains of feed. Right? And some salty sauce and some salad, some dirty centimeter and stuff. And you carry that go work. You sit at your computer working, you check your sugar. Oh, you'll be surprised to see how much better it should be.
It should be, right. Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. So checking your 2 hour sugar gives us a gauge for checking how we eat at the same time.
Right. Okay. So it actually helps you to manage what your meal should be.
Right. There's a test that we do.
Doc, before you go, this is very, very important. I want you to repeat that. This is very, very important because I have to confess I did not know that. That 2 hour, yes, because if what you're saying here is, what I'm getting from you is, if you eat X amount, and what you made reference to, and 2 hours after your sugar did not go back to normal, it basically means that you and you probably overate. You should not have eaten that amount.
That much, right? So the next meal, you really need to cut on your carbohydrates and your sugars. Mm-hmm. And that's what I tell you. It's your granddaughter's birthday. It's her first birthday, and they make chocolate ganache cake. Double chocolate filling, right? And they still put chocolate sprinkles on it.
Mm-hmm.
Have a little sliver of cake, yes. But when you go home for dinner, you know what you're having? A bowl of salad and you eat, because you eat all that sweet. And you know your glycemic index shoot up at your granddaughter's house already, right? And you probably get in your car and drive home for the 5 minutes when you could have walked down the road the 5 minutes. But you drive. That's okay. I might talk a little louder because it's raining, but I'm saying it gives asking your patients to do their 2 hour. For me, I think it empowers my own patients. We talk about it, right? Because then I'm going to send you in 3 months to do HbA1c, right? And for people who don't have problems with what we call hemoglobinopathies, people like who have problems with the hemoglobin, like who have sickle cell and all of that, other diseases where their cells break down quickly, your cells actually last for 90 to 120 days.
Yeah.
So let's say 1 day or 2 days, you had a little high sugar, but those other days you see your glucose, your glycemic index come down, right? Guess what? You see your glucose generally come down, your 2 hour sugars. You can guarantee that your A1C is going to be fine.
Right.
Because your A1C gives you an average of what your sugar has been over these last 3 months, because those red blood cells have been there for the last 3 months, right? And they will say, hey, see how much sugar I have here? She's been feeding me too much whatever, right? Too much pasta, too much ketchup in my food with all the sugar, too much sodas, too much all the rest of it, right? And so that's the other way, in the long run, how we help patients to regulate what they're taking.
Right. I just came across something very interesting. It says the bottom line, diabetes symptoms can be so mild that they're hard to spot at first.
Yes, they are. And I might say, Lord, I'm peeing often, but it's just I've been drinking water. Right? We look for excuses. It's just very human for us to find ways to explain
what is happening.
Right. My foot, that tight shoe, them made in China shoes, it's not the same size, and it's true, okay, but the shoe squeezing, I've been on my feet long, that's why my feet hurting, and in truth and in fact, that's not what it is. Okay? My skin itching, maybe that new lotion, that new soap, that jacket, or every time I wear it, my skin scratch, but you wear the same uniform every day. Okay? So, it's important that we avoid the denial, because sometimes that's our biggest enemy. Can you turn back your diabetes? You can turn back your control. You can eat and don't have any diabetes symptoms. You can eat and maintain a normal blood glucose level. I'm going to tell you what used to happen when I was 40 years ago when I was a medical student. So we didn't have blood glucose machines in our offices or in the hospitals. All blood glucose you took a sample and you sent it in a test tube, in a red test tube to the lab, right? Because they're going to use the serum from the blood, right? And, or you take a sample of the patient's urine. But remember, you can have people who have diabetes who do not spill that sugar in their urine, right? Depends on how their kidneys are functioning, okay? So we'll take you come to the doctor. You're coming to see me this week, but what I had last week, you had the holiday, right? Or you had all fours the weekend, you drink, you had a wonderful time, plus your friends then come down for the weekend, right? And out every night, and you drink and you're palavering. And then you come to see me next week Friday, so you start from Sunday, right? When you turn up, you come to my office, I'll do a urine test. Because I don't have a finger stick thing, right? That doesn't exist yet. I do a urine test, and we put a pill in there called a clinical test tablet. And the clinical test tablet will make your urine look, when you put it in there, it fizzes, like Andrew's liver salts. It fizzes, and then you get yellow, green, orange, red, black. And it gives you a qualitative evaluation, right? And a kind of quantitative based on what we saw, but I can't say sugar's 190. I can say it's high or it's very high, right? But that's what you're spilling. And remember, you may not spill according to how high your blood sugar really is.
Right.
It was our gauge, right? And then we started doing blood stick. And the same thing, patients, so what you do the week before, you starve, right? So what you're spilling or what you have in your blood is now low. Right? But it's not that you have not been behaving badly. Right? It's not that you have not been taking care of your not that you have been taking care of your urine or you have been being a nice guy, but you know you're coming to see me and I'm going to say, I have a finger stick machine in my office and I check your sugar, right? And it's fine. Because you didn't eat nothing, drink no rum, you're drinking, eating lettuce and water for your meal, 1 egg, that kind of stuff, right? And then I say, then we had HbA1c. And I catch you.
Because the cells are there.
It gives me an indication of what your sugar has been, the average 2-hour sugars in the last 3 months. So, and it's not meant to catch people, it's meant to help us to gauge. It's really meant to help us to gauge appropriately, and so we can figure out where we're not going right. Introspect. What am I doing right? I have a patient who gets up with a low blood sugar in one because she want to eat for 12 hours, right? But I say to her, have 1 slice of bread. Chop sliced bread. Because you know how Grenadians slice fatso, right?
Yeah.
Because just a little piece of bread, so many piece. Well, I buy one of the big pan loaf and a break off piece. Well, break off depends on your heart and your hand, okay? But my patient, I said to her, 1 slice of bread. And she keeps eating 2. And the day she goes down to 1, her sugar is fine, her 2 hours is fine. She comes on, I said, 1 slice of bread. Here's the trick of the slice of bread. Toast the bread. You buy whole wheat bread, toast that bread nice and crisp and cut it into small pieces. You can't eat a whole slice because it takes long. It's like when you're trying to eat a salad, it takes long. You cut up that 1 slice of bread into small pieces, you get tired. But then the other thing is that your blood sugar starts to get back to normal and you feel satisfied. So there's really no need to eat more. You got me? Your blood sugar gets within that normal range and you're good. But what we do is just eat it, wolf it down. Sugar flies up high and our body struggles to control it. Right? But if you eat a little, especially if you eat complex bread, I call it kora bread, the bread that have all the seeds and all the stuff like that. In the years to get the breads that have everything. It takes a longer time to digest. And I tell people, have 2 grains of fig for your breakfast. Not a big old fig, 2 grains of fig or a grain of fig and a little slice of yam, or a grain of fig and a piece of sweet potato. And sweet potato is great because sweet potato has a relatively low glycemic index. Despite the fact that
it's sweet. Okay.
It has a lot of fiber, so it takes long. Breadfruit has a lot of fiber, it takes long to digest. Fig and blubber. But you can't eat fig, blubber, sweet potato, plantain, everything together. You have 2. Whatever is the equivalent of a grain of fig and a grain of blubber of 2 grains of fig, have it. So 1 grain of fig, a piece of yam. That's how I tell my patients. Eat like that. And then eat when you get hungry. Check your sugar, see if you're doing good. Eat. And there's no one way. There's no one way to direct your patients or to direct the people who already have diabetes. But that's why it has to be individually gauged. And that's why the persons who already have diabetes or threaten to have diabetes have to take on an individual campaign in order to stop themselves from developing diabetes.
Right. Wonderful.
Okay? Because we don't want, with all this small vessel damage or the sinusoid, the small vessel damage, or the challenge with the blood, your blood not being able to circulate to the places that are so essential, that we end up having blind people. We don't want you to have heart attacks. We don't want people to have strokes and dementia, right? A lot of people who have long-standing diabetes, right, will develop dementia because diabetes does damage the circulation, right? Or to lose your limbs, or to have your kidneys, or to have erection. And women might become disinterested in sex because they don't feel sexually stimulated for the same reasons. So, the discomfort with the itching and having wounds that don't heal quickly and all of that, right? Because you don't have proper circulation, proper oxygenation of the tissue, because the red blood cells can't get there. If they do get there, they just have so much coating on them.
Yeah,
they can't eliminate whatever they need to at that level. Okay. So that is what happens with having high glycemic index, and that is how it's aged.
Right. So, Doc, we're going to take our final break. When we come back, we're going to invite our callers. If they have any questions or contribution, we will take it then.
We also need to talk for a minute or two. We need to talk about what you need to do, how you need to gauge your diabetes, the things that you have to do, who you should see to get support. And this is just generalized, because I know Dr. Matthias is coming in a couple.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm. The thing is, we've just basically, what we've done is more or less done a huge introduction, because next Tuesday there's so much more, because we have not even looked at when you need to see your physician, and there's so much to talk about. So we have the entire month, and folks, we are going to be giving you as much information as we can on how to control and prevent diabetes. Yep. So stay with us. We'll be back in just a moment.
Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Hubbard's is once again innovating the way you shop with its new online store, providing 24-hour shopping convenience. You can shop now for appliances, hardware, houseware, building material, and more. Free delivery island-wide. Start shopping now at hubbardshardware.gd. Safe, convenient, reliable.
If there was ever a time to keep and stay healthy, it's now! We at Hills and Valley are here to help you take deliberate steps to maintain your health. We stayed true to maintaining the most comprehensive rates while stocking the widest range of medicines and health devices, including personal protective equipment. There are so many benefits shopping with us. You get great savings through discounts for senior citizens and reward cards for loyal customers. Ask about owning yours today. Visit us at Halifax and Grenville Street, St. George, Jubilee Street opposite the Grenville Bus Terminal, and at Hillsborough, Carrico. Our wholesale distribution on Halifax Street also stocks the widest range of pharmaceuticals. We are with you on the hills and in the valleys. We are Hills and Valley Pharmacy.
Co-op Bank introduces e-payments, our new e-banking feature that allows you to make payments online hassle-free. Log in securely with biometric technology. Make recurring payments easier with automated scheduling. Save time by paying your bills online. Transfer money to accounts at other local and regional banks. Send wire transfers on the go to anywhere in the world. Or send money to friends or family using buddy payment. E-payments, the swift, simple, and secure way of transferring money.
Welcome home.
Here is a little known fact. There is only one place in Grenada that you can get an MRI scan done. That place is Speyside Imaging Center. Yes, Grenada, that's the truth. Other centers could offer you other scans, but Speyside Imaging provides an authentic MRI scan. Here's another little known fact. Speyside Imaging has 3 centers. We operate at Grenville, the Carnage, and at the Ocean House, Grand Anse. We provide the widest range of laboratory tests and services. CT scans, x-rays, mammograms, ultrasounds, and a host of other services. We are fully staffed by a team of family doctors and specialists. Call us today at 444-7679 or 406-1500 or visit any of our 3 locations. Spice Cell Imaging, from seeing the doctor to getting lab tests, scans, and pharmacy services. We are here to take care of you.
Welcome back, everyone, and our telephone line is open, the number 435-2041. So we invite your questions, and of course, if you have other contributions you would like to make to the program, we'll be happy to accommodate you. So the number again, 435-2041, and you can call in with your questions or what other contributions you may have. Doc, there's one question on our Facebook platform. Someone is asking, good night, Doc, how can one treat diabetic foot ulcers?
Well, good evening to whoever it is. I really hope nobody ever has diabetic foot ulcers. Because it represents one of the most severe complications. Remember we were talking about the circulation, about when your blood sugar remains so high, eventually the circulation, the red blood, the blood cells getting into those long, far away places where there's little or no blood vessels, just spaces. Mm-hmm. If you can't get oxygen there, right? Because the blood cells don't really get down there. If you can't get oxygen, the red blood cells carry oxygen on the heme, right? On the hemoglobin. That's what it's made. That's what's in your blood for. If it can't get there, you will develop, the tissue will break down, it will die, and you get an ulcer. I'm going to talk about some things after. The treatment is really finding someone who knows what they're about. I'm going to advertise to my colleague here, not advertise, but because she knows a lot about it, Dr. Doris Joseph up in the north.
St. Andrew, Mm-hmm.
Is one of our persons who has a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge. There has been a group of nurses, I think, who were trained recently. So if you start seeing, you have to first check your circulation. I'm going to go back to talking about it in a minute. You have to first check your circulation. If you have an ulcer, sometimes you need as much as having a skin graft, which is they take a piece of skin from somewhere like your thigh or stuff and put it on cover because the skin is gone, especially if you have a long-standing ulcer. So that is something that's usually managed by a well-trained dermatologist, skin specialist, or by the surgeons. Mm-hmm. I was talking to a colleague in New York who should be giving a lecture soon on managing the diabetic foot. And he's a foot and ankle surgeon. He's passionate about preventing, because the thing is, we have to prevent loss of limb by one, controlling our sugar like we're crazy, getting accustomed to knowing how my body manages the food, the carbohydrates, the sugars and starches that I consume, and living a lifestyle that is a thing. So the first thing is really preventing by making sure that you check your foot every day, right? To understand whether there's any poor circulation, whether the nerves are good, because sometimes the nerves will die because they too don't get any oxygen. The nerve in those places, you get neuropathy. And by making sure that you see anything that you run to the doctor quick. And those things don't just need dressing. You can do that at home. Anybody can dress their foot at home. But when it comes to taking care of wounds, you have to go to people who have special training and who have the passion to stick with you and to do what you need to do. And you have to cooperate. You know, and I know this is a lot, But I want to start on foot care as one of the first things that we need to do. There are a couple of things that I do. I send all my patients with diabetes to a series of people. It doesn't matter how long you've had diabetes. If you haven't done it, I send you. Because we also know that even the people who come that just discovered that they have diabetes, they've had diabetes for a while. They're just not checking their sugar. Like you say, the symptoms are so subtle, they don't even realize that they have diabetes. Okay? So first of all, you have to stop smoking. Because smoking on its own makes your blood vessels hard and narrower. So no smoking. No alcohol because of all that sugar, okay? That you take in your alcohol. So no smoking, definitely no smoking. You have to go to the foot specialist. You have to go to a podiatrist, somebody who knows, who will be able to examine your foot, see if there's anything, a little slit, a fungal infection, teach you how to cut your nails, because this thing we're going to get pedicure from pedicurists. With all due respect to pedicurists, some of them just don't know how to do this. Okay? You have to go to get your foot, they check their pulses, make sure that the circulation number is still viable, right? Look to see if you have ulcers developing, and if you do, to teach you how to care for your foot, because that is what the podiatrist says to you. This is how you wash your feet. You have a special towel to dry it. This is the kind of shoe you need to wear, right? Make sure you don't walk on the road. Make sure you don't wear flip-flops. I see rain falling, and people who I think have been aged for having diabetes and having challenges in town with slippers. We don't slip on rainfall. All screw and stone and all kind of things that can jerk your foot out in the water. So you shouldn't go outside, right? So the first thing I have to do is get foot care. That's one of the things. You have to go to the dentist, because the same circulation you probably have everywhere, you have in the gums. And tooth loss is quite possible, especially if you have a lot of sugar. You can have more erosion of your teeth, right? You have to go to an eye doctor. And on the first case, not the doctor that's going to give you glasses, not just at the places of sunglasses. You have to go to a trained ophthalmologist, somebody who can look into the fundus of the eye, see what the retina, the part of the back of the eye looks like, and go from there. There is also a program that's going to be started that with the Diabetes Association is about to start for retinal scanning. In places like the UK, that's done every year. People with diabetes get a picture taken of the retina, which is, like I said, the lining at the back of your eyes, and to see what the status is in relation to the circulation there. Okay? So you should go to the ophthalmologist anyway, right? Once your sugar is under control, and then you go get your screen. And of course, once the Diabetes Association has a scanning facility, everybody should go get scanned everywhere. Okay? So that's the thing. You should get your... Some of my patients I send to the kidney specialist if I already see challenges, right? But you should see, and if there's a person who's a diabetes specialist, by all means, you go there. And so it's a dentist, and then you go to the nutrition counselor. You go to the dietitian who explains to you how to eat the food that is available to you,
right?
And what you can make available, so we can use our local diet and live happily ever after, right? You have to do it. And of course, there are programs like the chronic disease self-management program that the Ministry of Health promotes in communities that you go, and they teach you how to take care. So if you get up this morning, and like I tell you, get up and your sugar is high, you say, well, I'm going to cut on my carbs today. Let me go for a walk. Let me walk an extra 15 minutes. And of course, you have to include exercise into your lifestyle. And sometimes, I don't know why people have to cook two different parties if somebody have diabetes and all that. But it's supposed to eat well anyway. And you can have diabetes and eat nice food, right? You just have to know that your portion and your content is important. And if you're eating to control your sugar, it's going to be preventing your family from developing diabetes. So it has to be a thing, because it becomes burdensome when just one person has to eat differently. No, that's proper food. You can't eat proper. You don't eat proper food. Well, proper food should be my food. We should all be eating healthy together. Proper food must not be medicine. It must be something that he enjoys that keeps him well.
Wonderful.
Okay? So I hope that and extra answers the question. That is what I wanted to say about the other things that we need to do. Right. And of course, the skin care and all the rest of it. We have to be aware.
Someone is asking also, good night, Doc. Can you please explain what it means when a diabetic starts having small sores in the head?
So, small sores in the head might just mean an infection. They might have they might have fungus in their scalp. Because remember, you make bread?
Yes.
I make bread.
How you make bread?
Yes.
Dog, I used to work in a bakery. I used to work in a bakery.
The guy who grease pan and put the bread in the bakery. So if you're making bread, you use yeast. Yeast is a fungus, right? Fungus likes warmth, right? It likes damp places with little oxygen if possible, and it likes sweet. It already has sweet from the sugar, if your sugar is uncontrolled, and it has the moisture from our atmosphere, and the fact that most of us, our scalp is, it's hot, right? So you can catch a fungus from somebody else having a fungus, ringworm in their scalp and that kind of stuff. You scratch it, you're going to get some. So I will tell whoever asks you that question, get your sugar checked. There are other things, but if you have diabetes, you might be out of control, and you may have picked up a fungus that find, ooh, I love this place, let me sit down here and have fun, and right? And grow, and that can be taken care of. You often need medications by mouth, but it will work.
Okay, we have a caller on the line. Let's see who's with us. Doctor and call. Good evening.
Yes, good evening, Doc, and good afternoon.
Yes, good evening, caller.
What I'd like to find out is gangrene caused by sugar, or just normal soup? I'd like to know what caused gangrene.
Okay. Thank you, caller. Thank you very much indeed. Yes.
All right.
Gangrene occurs when you have infection in a part of the body where there's no oxygen. So people with diabetes can have gangrene. People who have had an accident, let's say you have an accident, right? And you damage an artery, so there's no blood flowing to that part of your limb or wherever it is. You can have gangrene because you don't have oxygen and you get infection.
Okay. Let's get back to the telephone. Doctor and call, good evening. Yes, good evening, caller.
I'd like to know if a person is mentally ill for a long period of time of a lot of years, if they can get better healed.
If they can't what? Don't go.
Get better healed from unless herbs or different things.
You mean just mental illness?
Yeah.
So, I was talking to some students yesterday about mental illness. It's very important that when we have mental illness, like with any other illness, that we get treated very early. A lot of us tend to shun the diagnosis of mental illness in the beginning, and a lot of us tend not to take our medications. Sometimes it is important that families understand, we as a nation of people understand that mental illness is just another illness like diabetes or hypertension, that our families need as much support. And that is the biggest thing to helping people stay well, family support. Of course, you have to take your medications. If you've had it for a long time, it may not go away. But your family and the people around you should really be helping you to be as involved in society, whether it's your church, your home, your neighborhood, whatever it is, the cricket club, whatever it is, you should be able to participate. You should have a little job if you can work. If you're young enough to work, you should be able to do it. You can clean the yard, you can help wash dishes, you can participate in the house. It is important that our mentally ill patients, people who have mental illness, given the greatest opportunity to reintegrate, to remain, I should say, a part of society. But it has to do with early treatment, constant treatment, and family and community support. Does that answer your question?
The question I like to know is like, if you're living a life and nobody cares about you, but God deserves to care about you and deserves to live a different life, How can, what I say now is that you care about yourself much as how people think about you don't care about yourself, you understand? But sometimes you go astray and mislead when you do take a treatment, you understand?
So you need to take
you mentioned.
You need to take a treatment, right?
And how regular I need to take it?
As often as the doctor tells you. Who do you go to? You go up to Monday?
And if the doctor refuses you,
Doctor can't refuse
normal.
Only if you give him trouble, he might tell you he can't see you today, but don't give him trouble. Go when you need to take your medication so you don't get ill, okay?
Like, if you went first, now, then he tell you, well, it's normal. You have to go and face the time. You understand? I have to go back and forth for treatment. How you will feel?
I know it's not a nice feeling, but just make sure you go to your clinic on time, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much indeed. All right, the number is 435-2041. Not very long ago, we had a number of programs on, mental disorders with Dr. Panchu, and some of these programs, they were very, 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 very important. Some of the information that came out, and mental disorders, it is a problem, and needs to be given a lot more attention.
I'm glad that this gentleman called, because one of the things that we forget that people with mental illness can have metabolic illnesses as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And also, there's some, not very much in our environment, there's one medication in particular that works very well, especially for people with schizophrenia, but tends to make them develop diabetes. So you have to do metabolic testing on them.
Right.
So, and then of course, a lot of them eat, they smoke. People who have mental illness tend to smoke because it creates a sense of calm, and they eat differently. Sometimes they're not cared for, so they eat whatever they get and stuff. So we have to remember that people who on the margin from a mental health standpoint are also, and those are the things that we as physicians have to remember to check for, especially most of us don't work in a mental health environment, but we have to think about it as a possibility that people with mental illness will also have these metabolic illnesses.
Okay, let's go back to the telephone. Doctor and call, good evening. Hello?
Yes, good evening.
Yes, can you turn the volume of your radio, your TV down?
Okay, thank you.
And listen to us on your telephone. Right, go ahead. Yes, tell us.
Okay, I'd like to ask a question that if you're a diabetic and under the foot just be burning you, I want to know what is the cause of that, and the ankle been swelling. So I don't know what is the cause of that. Under the feet, it won't just be burning.
And the ankle swelling?
And the ankle swelling.
Don't go away, because I want to ask you a question. How old are you?
69.
How long since you've had diabetes?
Maybe about 18 years now.
Have you had an A1C and HbA1c done recently?
Yes.
What was it?
Well, at the point in time I did it, the A1C was a bit high.
No, I want to know. I like numbers, okay?
Yeah. I can't remember it. So it's a little while now I did it, so I can't really remember.
So it was more than 7, more than 8, more than 9, right?
Yeah.
So that means that every time you eat, your sugar remains quite high. Remember you're talking about the 2-hour sugars that you should go back to normal? That is what an A1C means. And you're supposed to do A1C every 3 months. That's one of the things you have to do in order to understand how well you're under control. Has anybody examined your foot?
Yes, I went to the doctor with it.
And what did the doctor tell you?
Well, he told me when I went, he told me is the sugar that affecting.
So what is probably happening to you, and you're probably ready to see a foot care specialist, okay? What has happened to you? I think you're probably having what we call neuropathy. The nerves have been damaged. And sometimes it's not, right? So that high A1C that you had, how many months ago? 6 months?
3 months ago.
So it's time for your A1C, right? So you need to go back and get an A1C. And you need to sit down and recalculate your sugar control with your doctor. You need to restart over, because obviously there's something that you're not doing as well as you should. Right? The fact that you call is that you're interested in being able to manage your sugar appropriately, and I'm thankful that you call, and thanks for answering my questions. But this is a very good example. You're 69 years old. There are lots of care you have to take care. You have to practice. How much you eat, making sure you take your medications. What are you taking currently? What medications are you using?
Well, the medication I'm taking is the insulin.
We're taking insulin.
Mm-hmm.
Is that all that you're taking?
Well, when I take the metformin, he used to give me loose bowel and operation. So the doctor advised me.
Sometimes it's a brand.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get better control with when you were on metformin?
Well, yeah, it used to work, but the insulin worked better for me.
Right. So there are actually other medications that you can take as well, except that some of them are not available to us. But there are other medications.
No.
I think you need to start over with your management. If your HbA1c is over 9, 10, you have to start over with your doctor and recalculate where your sugar is. You understand? How are you going to manage the sugar? You have to do that.
Okay.
All right? And remember we talk about preserving what we have? So while your neuropathy may not go away, you don't want it to get worse. And you don't want to start having leg ulcers and stuff. You don't want to walk and stick it and you get juke in the house like a piece of tile on the ground or a grain of whatever rice fall on the ground and it bruise your foot and you don't know, and next thing you have ulcers on their feet. So you need to start over. Tell your doctor you want to start from scratch. All right?
Okay.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much indeed. All right, very interesting. So we take one more call, 435-2041, because the time is going by really, really quickly. Yes, it is. If not, Doc, maybe we can just quickly summarize our discussion this evening and just sort of set the tone for where we continue next Tuesday.
So diabetes, or sugar, as we say it, is a disease that we develop. It's a chronic disease. What's a chronic disease? A chronic disease is one that generally doesn't have a vaccine for. That would last you beyond 3 to 6 months, right? It would go on. It would last long. That you really need to change your lifestyle, and it can happen over a lifetime. And sometimes you also need medications to help you to control it, right? It is very important, and we all have access to information on our phone, right? On the computers, go for us to get in there and get very simple information. 94% of our population, 96% of our population is literate. We can read simple things. I see people watch their videos, their TikTok videos, their YouTube videos. There are lots of videos. Even if you can't read and write, that will help us to understand what this diabetes thing is. Diabetes has to do with how our body controls sugar, its sugar usage. Sugar is necessary for energy, right? And for your organs to work, for your whole body to work. It comes from the sugar that our body uses. The currency of energy that our body uses is called glucose. Okay, so that's what we test. Where does the glucose come from? It comes from our diet. And it comes from our sugars. Sugar, whether you drink cane juice, fruit juice, whatever it is, right? Mango, pineapple, whatever you eat, and from the starches, right? Recently, we have stopped consuming as much as we need to of the complex starches, which is, the growing provisions, the things that take longer, right? Oatmeal, those things that take much longer to break down because they have a higher fiber content and they release this glucose very slowly, okay? When that glucose is into your body, before that, we talk about glycemic index, which says how fast how fast a food that you eat will increase your sugar to its maximum, right? Some fruits, you know which fruit has the highest glycemic index? Watermelon.
Interesting.
So don't eat a whole field. You can have a piece, right? But then again, it's fruit sugar. You don't have to eat the whole milk. Have a slice, a small slice of that. Right? Makes you feel better after you have it. Cantaloupe makes you feel better, but they have high glycemic indices. Right? So your glycemic index is how much your sugar will rise when you eat something. We know that foods that are complex take a longer time. Starches that are complex. So, yam, a potato, banana, whole grain rice that nobody thinks they can cook. It's easy to cook. You have to keep adding a little water, it comes out. Use chicken broth to give it flavor. Flavor it up, it tastes nice, trust me. Right? And the other grains you can eat, peas and stuff. We know that we can prevent diabetes because we have to think, is it in my family? if it's in my family, I have to watch out. Because I have the attitude or the possibility of developing, doesn't mean that I have to develop diabetes. And even if I did, I can make lifestyle changes, right? Or can enhance my lifestyle to ensure that it doesn't happen. We know that once it happens, you need to start seeing your doctor soon. And there are things that you're going to need to do. You're going to check your eyes, you're going to check your teeth, you're going to check your bloods, do all your blood makeup. The doctor is going to check how your feet work, because oftentimes by the time you discover that you have diabetes, you've had it for a while. So sometimes the damage is done. We know that if you do not control that 2 hour, that post 2 hour, what we call postprandial, you eat and you keep quiet. What we call basal conditions, right? If you do, it should go back to normal. Your sugar should go back to normal within those 2 hours. If your insulin, that chemical that helps to move the sugar from the bloodstream into your tissues, if it's working well, right? Within 2 hours, the sugar should go back to normal, and the rest of whatever you had in your body gets stored as fat or glycogen. Okay? We know that if you have you maintain a high glycemia or high level of sugar in your blood, that sugar is going to coat your red blood cells, which are very necessary for transporting organs, especially transporting oxygen to your organs. No oxygen, organs die. They call it gangrene, it will die. Bacteria gets in there, it will get black. Doctor have to cut it off, right? We know that the more education we have, the more empowered we are. We know that when we get to the doctor, ask your doctor questions. Write down your questions. I like my patients to ask questions because it helps me to understand what you don't know. Okay? Yeah, I know sometimes the doctor busy and you want to run out, but I have a few questions here, right? We know that you should do your HbA1c every 3 months to identify. Make sure you don't have things like sickle cell, because then you don't really get it very good. Okay? But there are other tests that we can do to figure out just how your glycemic control is. We know that you have to eat well, eat small amounts. We know that we have the food that is required for you to eat, and we know that exercise is very important. Stress management, we know that there's support groups that you can join, like CDSMP. Get the ladies in the church and sit down and talk with those who have diabetes, those who don't have. Support each other. Learn to share meals, share recipes. Just hear what worked for me, right? And frankly, I think all families should eat the same kind of food, even if there's disease or not in your family. We know that this is going to be with you in some way or the other, and it is important that you prevent yourself from getting blind, you prevent yourself from having heart attacks, you prevent yourself from having strokes, you prevent yourself from your kidney failing, and you prevent yourself from losing your limb, okay? Because there are other complications that we develop. And we will continue to talk about this next week.
Oh, definitely. Yes, I mean, and there is so much more to talk about. Yes. So, Doc, I thank you so very much. Again, I thank our listeners, our viewers, those of you who sent your questions, who called. We really appreciate it. And, of course, we invite you to join us again next Tuesday as we continue to share information, all as a part of Diabetes Awareness Month. We will be having Dr. Matthias on the 15th. He should be joining us. He's a specialist in the area, so a lot of great information will be coming out. Prepare your questions, and of course we will try and have someone from the Food and Nutrition Council to help us with how to portion our sizes that we consume, all in an effort to help us to prevent, and in cases where it's already there, to keep it under control. Because gone are the days when some of these conditions, it's not a life sentence anymore. You can control, and you can live, as Doc said, happily ever after. So thank you all very much. That's our program this evening. Doc, thank you so very much. Until next Tuesday, have a good night. All the best.